Hello.
My name's Andrew Saunders. I was instrumental in starting the laying of the hedge. We planted native hedgerow some 10 years ago, and the idea being to provide a bit of privacy between the edge of the allotments and Bushy Park. The hedge was allowed to grow, and after 3 or 4 years it became tall enough to lay it in the traditional manner, where you cut the stems of the trees partially and lay them flat, and then you put stakes in and the binders which you can see along the top. This produced in the old days a stock-proof hedge so that sheep or cattle couldn't get underneath, but it's a good method for producing an attractive looking barrier which supports wildlife, because we have all native species along here, 5 or 6. It gives birds a chance to nest, and berries which will give them food.
Okay, I'm Matt Allchurch. I'm plot number 24 down here. About 15 years ago I was asked by the allotment committee to help with this building behind me here, which is an old stables and was used for storage, and it had fallen into disrepair with holes in the roof, pigeons living inside, and it really was no longer fit for even tools to be stored in. So, being a local architect and having an allotment myself, I contacted Rathbone College in Merton, and they volunteered their services to come down and rebuild the stores. And they were young people, I don't know, 16, 17 years old. They were of all sorts of different characters. They needed quite a lot of looking after. There was a fantastic teacher who would come down and do his best. We'd try and stop them straying onto people's plots, but I'm sure the odd apple and the odd courgette was scrubbed as part of that. But at the end, we had a fantastic building that was, fit for purpose again, and in fact the roof still looks good. Okay, so here we are outside the restored buildings. All of the building was missing quite a lot of pointing, so I had them make lime mortar, scrape out all the joints, and use a type of pointing called the Wandsworth smudge, which is a very traditional local pointing that you see around Teddington and other areas. And in the main they did a very good job. Obviously they have missed a few bits, but the building's in much better shape than it was when we first arrived. And the roof was probably the biggest part of the project, because the slates were all broken, pigeons were getting in, and that really made it quite unusable and unsafe. So all in all, a pretty big project, a great project for the children, and a great project for the Royal Paddocks allotments. I'll just have a look in case there's anything matured.
Hi. My allotment means, or our allotment means, wealth of vegetables and fruit, a refuge, particularly through COVID, exercise, a reason for being out in the open air, a huge amount. We've had it for many years, and it's been a great place to watch wildlife and nature, and getting down and close to it all. So very, very glad we've got it.
Peace and escape from the hurly-burly of everything else that's going on, particularly while COVID's been here. It's been an absolute haven, and such nice supportive friends and neighbours on the allotment, and occasionally a good bit of exercise. course, one of the things one has to learn with an allotment is how to share and share alike. In our case, with about 50 million parakeets, who will invariably take one bite from an apple, and that's the end of it. They'll move on to the next one. But sometimes you look up at this tree and you see a parakeet. You pick up a stone or a rotten apple, throw it, and 50 of the buggers take off. There again, they have a right to life too.
My allotment is a place to escape to. It's quiet and peaceful. It's what I think is good for the soul. The important thing is watching things grow. I don't even mind if I don't eat the fruit and veg that we grow. I just like to see things develop from seed to plant to producing vegetables and fruit. I don't have a garden, I live in a flat, so this is the place where I can come and relax. And in the end we managed to eat what we produce. I forgot the weeding bit. Rid of the so that we can see what we've got. So just pull the flowers off? Yeah, pull the flowers off. Maybe. Right, any more?
What does this allotment mean to me? It is a blank canvas upon which you can realise all of your schemes and fantasies and things that you think about in the bath of doing, and then you can come here and you can build them. You can build a shed entirely out of bits of old wood people have thrown away in skips. You can collect 1.5 tons of rainwater every year in a rainwater harvesting scheme, and you can build a solar panel and an irrigation system, and you can try it all out. You can dig a hole for no reason whatsoever and then think of something to do with it later. And at the end of all that, you can also grow cucumbers, which are funny shapes, and sweet corns, which the birds mainly eat, and wonky carrots, and delicious courgettes and courgettes and courgettes.
I'm David Harnden and I'm chairman of the Plot Holders Committee and have been for more years than I care to remember. I think COVID has brought it home to all of us how much our plots mean to us, not just for the fruit and veg, important as that is, but as a means of escape, bit of quiet nature, and of course the companionship you get down here. And one of the heartening things about the past few months has been the number of people who've looked out for their neighbours when they may be elderly or infirm and can't get down. People have been doing a fantastic job helping out and tending their neighbours' plots so that they don't get overgrown. And I think we've always had a good sense of community, but I think that now it's as strong as it ever has been. And let's hope that continues.
Right, what we're going to do here today is we're going to re-establish the levels of the roadways within this allotment. What's happened during the years, as the cars have been going up and down, they've compacted two ridges to either side of the path, causing the centre to raise up. The problem they're having is that the cars are starting to belly out into the raise of the middle of the lanes. So our intention is to take down the high spots in the middle of the lanes, distribute the soil and grass elsewhere, to expose any low points, reintroduce some more scalpings and some more hogging, rake them out and back them down and roll them out to re-establish a new roadway. We're keeping the original levels of the actual land itself, as it were, just so the water can disperse off that much more easily. And basically that's what we're doing here today.
It means a massive amount. We've been here 13, almost 14 years. And I used to be one of these people that popped down once or twice a week just to see how Ray was getting on at the allotment, do some picking. But since lockdown, it's been a total lifesaver because I'm pretty much here every day, or every other day. We walk here across Bushy Park. We spend an hour or two here, sometimes 3, and then walk back. So it serves a multitude of purposes: mental health, physical activity, and good food. So it's just been brilliant, particularly during lockdown.
Right.
Well, I never thought of myself as a gardener. I don't actually like gardening, but I've always been really interested in food production. And in a way, the allotment connects me to that. Connects me to food production. That's my real interest. Dig for Victory, I think, was wonderful.
Absolutely.
I'm Chris Pocock and I'm sort of responsible for this compost toilet. I took pity on the committee when they were trying to get enough volunteers to empty the L sand, dig a hole, empty chemicals in it, and I sort of rather stupidly suggested, why don't we have a compost toilet? And the rest is history. Well, when we came here, we lived across the road, and Marguerite saw some plots, so it was a good idea to take one on. And when we came here, we were shown this plot. Well, we couldn't see much of it, and there was a very large tree in the middle. Was it
a large apple tree?
Probably about
I think bit, bigger than that.
Which they just told us, you can't have trees on here. They just axed it down on the spot.
Well, they left a stump like that.
Yeah. And the rest of it was mostly about 5 foot brambles, high brambles. And we just started bit by bit, hacking them down, digging them out.
You were working any 4 days in the week, so often at weekends, and I was normal working week, so often at home on my own at weekends. So it was a good place to come.
Living in a flat, I hadn't really got much to do on my days off, except to come over here. In fact, I wasn't very keen on coming over here at all, but it just gets you. There was a time when there were so many apples, we had another half plot, so many apples. Marguerite put outside our front door in Cedars Road, I think it was 120 bags.
150 bags
150
one summer.
bags of apples.
Windfalls, labelled good windfalls.
About 5 apples in each bag.
6 apples in a bag.
And just left them to sort of help yourself, and they all went.
Yeah.
And there's someone on this plot who takes surplus fruit and what does she do with it? Makes jams and things, and then raises funds for charity. Allotment holding is a challenge because you can never get it right. It's a fight against the natural world, the birds from the trees and the well, I suppose slugs and all these things. I mean, if you like the outdoor life and the wildlife, well, it's a sort of it's a very balance that it's difficult to achieve.
Yeah, so we've been here through all the big changes. You know, when women came onto the plot, it made a huge difference when women came onto the site, and then families started to come, and very popular on the television. And I think Monty Don encouraged a lot of people to take on plots, many of them not knowing what a commitment it is. And yeah, so we were here for the fire, we were here for the huge surge of people taking up the plot when we had 80 people on the waiting list. We were here for the cafe. We've seen it all, really.
This is, for me, a place of space, peace and quiet, reflection, hard work, reward. Glorious feeling when I open the gates and walk in and see the open space and the open sky. Sense of space and belonging.
For me, it's the same sense of space. It's the bit of country in the urban area. We're very lucky to be so close to the park here. We see a lot of wildlife and it's up close and personal. So the other day a little robin came within about a foot of me and I could just look at it and I didn't have to go finding it. It came to me. Kestrels, all sorts of other creatures. And I think all of the things that Andy has said, but actually also I feel a great sense of oneness when I'm tending the soil, because I know that people have done that forever and they're doing it all around the world, and it's a place of connection as well as space.
What my plot means to me. I'm a foodie, and so what I like to do is grow food, soft fruit and veg that you can't buy in a supermarket. So things like damsons and green gooseberries and interesting varieties of common fruits that you wouldn't get, as I say, in the supermarket. So we've been growing some ridged courgettes this year. The other thing is I'm very concerned about air miles and organic growing, so really that's what my plot means to me.
Well, since I was a kid I've loved growing things as well as making things, and as a teenager I was given a little bit of land on my parents' garden, which is mine. I wanted to be a farmer for a brief period, and then later on as a student I got a bit absorbed in self-sufficiency, and I've always had a philosophy of kind of good husbandry. And so when we moved here, which was just over 20 years ago, although I had a pretty intense job, some might call it stressful, I had to travel a lot as well. I couldn't resist when I saw that the allotment gate was at the end of the road, and despite not having the time, took on the plot. So I love growing vegetables. I also like meeting new people from your locality, and I suppose you would describe growing veg, or in my case anyway, as a kind of mindful activity, to use the modern phrase. And it is undoubtedly a relaxing thing. And as a bonus, you get better veg than you could ever get at somewhere like Borough Market, and you don't need to get on the tube to get it. Anyway, that's about it really.